Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto was born with an Angal bloodline? Part 7. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. The sound of fierce battle could currently be heard in the deep outskirts of the bandit camp that was in a bright blaze of glory, lighting the sky with the orange flames and the black clouds. However, that wasn't a concern for the two warriors in the deep outskirts of the forest. Naruto and Taiyo could currently be found fighting said fierce battle with neither one taking the advantage, something that they knew that once gained, would be the end of the match. They both taken their fighting to different heights, already knowing that was how this fight should have been from the very beginning, both warriors bringing all that they had and leaving not one thing behind. Taiyo then ducked under a sudden slash before bringing his free arm up to block a quick jab from the blonde and sent a fast headbutt towards Naruto's chest, which connected and caused him to glide along the ground slightly. Naruto quickly got down on his knees when Taiyo appeared before him to send a wide slash aimed for his head, before pushing his feet up to perform a handstand back heel kick that landed smoothly on Taiyo's right collarbone. He then pushed himself off the ground and righted himself in the air before wrapping both legs around Taiyo's head to place him in a head scissors takedown before performing a corkscrew flip, thus causing Taiyo to be lifted off the ground and float slightly in the air while Naruto released him from the lock the moment he was off the ground. Taiyo then flipped himself back to his feet spinning on the balls of his feet and suddenly sent a wide backward slash that not only connected with Gunshin but also knocked it out of Naruto's hand and become embedded within a tree stump. Naruto said to himself, not truly used to fighting against a fellow sword master with only taijutsu. You see kid, this is why I told you to start fighting without your swords for once. Kyuubi said, seeing the predicament that his vessel was in, though while it wasn't a terrible situation it would be harder to gain the victory. I already know that fox, but it won't truly matter. Naruto said as Taiyo charged towards Naruto with his sword high in the air before sending a straight downward strike towards him. Naruto quickly dodged to the right of the slash before connecting 3 quick jabs on Taiyo's stomach before connecting a left jab, thus causing Taiyo's head to be knocked away from him before feeling a wicked buzzsaw kick to the neck. Naruto then saw Taiyo vanish and reappeared before him with his sword in a stabbing position aimed towards his chest, though Naruto saw it coming and blocked the stab with his left hand before going into Taiyo's guard and sent a right elbow into Taiyo's stomach. Seeing the man buckle under the hit then jumped into the air and wrapped his hands around the head of Taiyo. KTD, Naruto called out as he slammed Taiyo face first into the ground before he then got up from his down position and charged towards his trapped sword in the trunk. He soon reached the blade and managed to get a finger on it before suddenly pulling back when a sword attempted to slice off his hand. Before he could even question what happened, he felt a superkick to his jaw right before he a strong grip around his neck. The blonde then saw that it was right hand that was wrapped around his neck right before he felt the man using all his strength to pick him off the ground with his single arm, right before slamming him onto the ground with little to no effort. While the force of the fall wasn't extremely damaging, it did cause the air to shoot out of his lungs, and leave him vulnerable to the attacks of Taiyo. That shit ain't going to work. Taiyo said before bringing up his sword in a stabbing position and was about to bring it down until Naruto vanished from the ground and reappeared before Taiyo in a familiar taijutsu stance. Sacred Dragon Style. First Strike, Dragon Scar. Naruto called out sending multiple hits that ended with a left-handed uppercut. First call, the blonde yelled as he began to circle his left arm in front of the location he planned to hit Taiyo, the wind distorting from the call that he made. Death Strike, Naruto called out as he sent his right arm through the circle, causing the wind to follow suit and surround his arm to form a dragon. The team then sent his right arm towards Taiyo's chest, but before he was able to land the hit, his fist was grabbed by Taiyo's right hand and stopped the technique dead in his hand. Before Naruto could even gasp, he felt a slash going across his chest and felt blood leak from the wound while the one-eyed warrior held his sword in the air with a maniacal smirk on his face. It's about time this sword got to taste your blood, it's been craving it for so long. Taiyo said as he held the blade in front of his face and saw the small amounts of red liquid drip from the blade. He then did a quick swipe of the sword and caused the blood to come off the sword before he held it up again, although next time it won't want just a taste, it's going to want an entire plate. He said while Naruto took in deep breaths to keep his lungs from collapsing while Kyuubi worked on healing the wound. Kit, what the hell are you doing out there? You should have already taken his sword away from him. Kyuubi said while working hard to close that wound, which was luckily very shallow due to the nature in which the cut was performed. I already know that, Fox. That's what I've been trying to do, but I didn't think that he could fight this well with a sword. Naruto replied as he eyed his sword sitting on the stump and awaiting for him to get it back in his hand. However, Naruto knew that it was easier said than done, because Taiyo would be damned if he'd let the team get rid of his advantage in battle. Then do something quick to buy yourself some time so that I can heal that wound. Kyuubi said with Naruto inwardly nodding. I think I can buy us a couple of seconds. Naruto said to the fox as he felt the wound close up just enough so that it wouldn't hinder his breathing. It was then that Taiyo charged at him head on, thus causing Naruto to take on his stance again, but this one was slightly different than the previous one. I told you that that shit won't work. Taiyo said as he sent a quick slash towards Naruto, who simply scoffed before calling out his next move. Sacred Dragon Style. Second Strike, Sky Dragonault. Naruto called out as he dodged the slash made and in response sent a forward jab that gave Taiyo very little time to react. Second Call. Naruto shouted as he smashed his fist into Taiyo's jaw, causing the man's head to bend backwards from the strength, but before anything else could be done he felt a left knee hit his chest, then a left backhand across his face before a wicked right roundhouse to his temple. The man then looked through drowsy eyes before he heard Naruto yell, "Aerial strike," right before feeling a heavy uppercut to his chin, causing him to ascend off the ground and sail through the air for a moment before landing onto another tree back first. Naruto then felt the whole wound heal up, and it wasn't long until he could feel his breathing return to being stable. Damn it, I should have finished him off by now. Naruto thought to himself as he stood before the downed form of Taiyo. Well, what do you expect? You've used up almost all of the chakra I gave you and you're almost out of your own. You need to figure out something or else you're going to lose more than just your title. Kyuubi said with Naruto growling inwardly before suddenly getting down on his knees to dodge a wicked clothesline that was aimed for his head. Not bad, most people don't see my Hell's Lariat until after I decapitate them. Taiyo said with a wide smirk on his face while Naruto simply looked at him in amazement. He barely held any chakra, yet he still was willing to continue fighting him head on and damn the consequences afterwards. He now knew that the only way to beat him was by using his main ace in the hole. Damn it, I guess I don't have a choice then. Kyuubi, I'm going to use it, Naruto thought to himself before he stood upright with Taiyo still smirking up a storm. Are you sure about that, Kit? You may not have enough chakra left to sustain it. Kyuubi said as he saw that his vessel didn't contain enough chakra to properly sustain the power. Just tell me how long I can sustain it. Naruto said. From the looks of things, 3 seconds. Kyuubi said with Naruto scoffing. That's more than enough time. I only need it for a moment. Naruto thought to himself as he watched Taiyo walk towards him with his sword resting on his shoulders. Hey, are you done talking to yourself? I need to finish this up so that I can alert the horsemen of their newest member. Taiyo said with Naruto spitting on the ground before scowling at him. Shut up, idiot, you will never as much as dream of being a member of the horsemen. Naruto said as he formed the familiar cross seal and called out, Shadow Clone Jutsu, allowing 4 clones to appear beside him. They then charged towards the crazed one-eyed swordsman while Naruto then closed his eyes and blazed through 100 hand signs before slamming both palms together, thus, beginning to concentrate his chakra to use a move that only people within his group could use. And what makes you think that? Taiyo said as he quickly disposed of 2 clones before defeating a third in a fraction of a second later. He then sliced through the last one with ease and was about to charge towards the blonde but soon stopped when he saw the blue chakra that was now swirling around the blonde in a blue tornado, thus surprising him due to the fact that chakra could only be seen in strong portions, which then told him that the teen was going to use something dangerous. He then saw a set of wings appear along the teen's back and by his observation saw that they appeared to be angel wings. Because you're about to see the greatest technique that Master Every passed down to me. Naruto said as the tattoo on his chest then turned bright silver, thus causing chakra to turn bright silver as well. It's the ultimate technique that revolves around our world and the one of the last things Slayer Sama passed on to me before his death. It's something that I never intended to use on you, but apparently you leave me no choice in this matter. It doesn't hold a universal name, but its power is the same nonetheless, Naruto said as the chakra around his body turned into dual spinning twisters with the front spinning clockwise while the other spun counter before it began to recede within itself and slowly encase the teen. Taiyo then saw the tornadoes formed a solid chakra barrier around his body that blocked his viewing of the teen but could still hear his voice behind it. Now get ready Taiyo, for this is my version, Soul Flame. Naruto called out before the chakra exploded outward to reveal Naruto's transformation of sorts. However, before he could get so much as a glance at the blonde boy, he vanished and reappeared right behind him in a flash of silver along with what looked like a sword made out of fire in his hand. Inferno Glory, Naruto called out in a strong authorizing voice that alerted Taiyo to the blonde presence behind him, but before he could ask anything, a large wound appeared over his chest with his blood flying out in torrents. End flashback, time skip. 3 hours later. Naruto was currently lying down on his back, panting hard with sweat pouring all over his body while looking towards the sky. The teen currently had a lost look on his face after having just finished his hardcore training only but a few minutes ago, with Kumori having been dispersed after learning that his job was done. Naruto was still unsure of where he was in his power level, but for some odd reason he just continued to feel as if he has yet to reach the level that he knew he should be at. He then brought up his left arm and examined the newest addition to his collection of weaponry, Benahansho, the extraordinary blade shining from the moonlight's reflection on it. It was at this time that one last memory went through his mind, and this one would involve the full conclusion of his fight with Taiyo, and the man's leaving of this sword. Flashback. Silence littered the air between the two warriors that stood back to one another, neither one even attempting to turn to address the other. Taiyo already knew that there was no use in continuing this fight, as his wound had a second problem occurring that he did not see coming. It appeared that the blonde teen's attack did more than just wound him with a flame sword, as the flames still remained on his body and was now slowly consuming his body. What was all that? Taiyo asked as the flames were now covering the entirety of his body, thus turning him into a human fireball. But oddly enough, there was not an ounce of fear or pain in his tone, but was more so focused on curiosity. It was there that Naruto's transformation left him and he was now standing with heavy exhales leaving his mouth. Sorry, but I could only allow you to see it for a moment. It's my special technique called the Soul Flame that allows me full control over a special fire that is a gift from a personal friend of mine. Naruto said as he then turned around and stared at the burning back of his once fellow student. Naruto held onto his side in pain with his technique leaving him and his angel wings returning to his body. It looks like this will be the last time I see you, Naruto said with Taiyo looking towards him with a smirk before he tossed his sword to the blonde teen, who caught it with his free arm and examined the marvelous weapon for a moment before looking towards Taiyo, who was now gazing at the outskirts that neared the cliff. He wanted to get as good a look of this place as possible, because this would be the place that would become his eternal resting place. Looks that way, huh? Taiyo asked as he gazed to the out towards the beautiful view below the cliff. Perfect image to die with, don't you think? He said before his body stiffened and soon his breathing stopped. Naruto immediately knew that he was gone, yet he was amazed at the guy's ability to hold on to his strength even while he was on fire. The blonde then saw the man's body fall over the ledge and vanished within the shadows of the forest below, leaving Naruto on his own as he walked towards the ledge of the cliff. He then sighed deeply before picking up the sword that his once fellow apprentice left behind, apparently a gift for earning his victory. Rest in peace, Taiyo, Naruto said to himself while muttering a short prayer for his fallen brother's spirit to find peace in the afterlife. But as he walked one though continued to go through his mind. This won't be the last time I see him. End flashback. Kid, what's going on with you? You never pushed yourself this hard in training before. Kyuubi said as his chakra worked hard in healing his vessel from the excess damage he did to his body, but thankfully he didn't tear any of his muscles or break any of his bones, so the repair job wouldn't take any longer than 1 hour, that is however if Naruto was willing to rest that long. I don't know, Kyuubi, I just felt I had to do it. Naruto responded to his partner with the fox scowling loudly. This is just like how you acted when Slayer and Conqueror died along with Famine disappearing. You felt immense guilt over their fates that you blamed yourself for everything that happened to them and then worked yourself to the brink of death. How many times do I have to tell you that things happen in life that you will never have control over, the only thing you should do is not live in those things. Kyuubi said with Naruto groaning loudly. Well, what do you expect? Slayer-sensei sacrificed himself so that I can live. Conqueror wasn't supposed to die there, but it was my fault for getting greedy in the middle of that fight, and Famine went insane because I let him and now I don't where he is. Let's face it, Fox, nearly all the bad shit that's happened so far is because of me. Naruto said before hearing the fox roar loudly in his mind. You stubborn little child. You're apparently trying to tell me that you still haven't gotten over what's happened in the past. How do you think your sensei would feel if he were to learn that you're still holding on to old things? Kyuubi said right before cutting the mental link, allowing Naruto to remain in his thoughts. He then began to think about his sensei and the lessons that man passed on to him as a child, such as teaching him on how to get over his anger towards the villagers for what they did to him. He originally planned to return to the village and rip this village a new hole, but when his sensei caught wind of his intentions, the man made sure that that would no longer come across his mind. The man worked endlessly to educate him on the principles that he lived by, one of which being the power of forgiveness towards the wrongs those people committed towards him. His sensei taught him that when one holds onto grudges and revenge, then nothing good will come out of the seed that was sown throughout the process. Yes, you'll feel great when you get the big payback, but is it truly worth the effort it took to actually get back at that person? He also went on to teach him about bringing forgiveness and peace into one's own life, because the only thing that matters in life is how you make it after everything is over. He knew that the fox was right, but for some reason, he just felt this large guilt in his heart that he couldn't resolve no matter how hard he worked. Maybe I just regret seeing Taiyo die. It's not the first time that I regretted doing something like that. He thought to himself before sighing deeply and closing his eyes. The moment his eyes closed, a quick flash came over his eyes of a young man in his early 20s with tall spiky white hair and bright silver eyes that was as bright as the moon. I hope you're having fun watching my suffering, you son of a bitch. Naruto thought before he was out like a light. 2 days passed in the aftermath of the joint mission between Team Kurenai and Guy, with Naruto acting as the ringleader. Each member of the team were exceedingly happy at finally being able to go home to take a good long rest, especially after Kurenai and Guy stated that they would have the rest of the week off to let their bodies heal from the ordeal, and even Naruto agreed that they take a rest, though he warned them to continue with their training, because urged them that if they didn't, then he was going to make sure that they got caught up. Needless to say, each member of the group nodded in slight fear as what Naruto would do to them if they didn't obey. After getting a couple of goodbyes from both Kurenai and Guy, since they had to go towards the Hokage's office to report their mission, Naruto chose to head towards his favorite ramen shop here called Ichiraku's Ramen, since he was hella hungry right now and actually preferred that shop to the several others in the village. He soon reached the stand with a small smirk on his face as he saw the owner of the joint working hard through the open stand, appearing to be alone. He liked it when that happened, as that meant nobody would bother him with their bullshit and he could eat in peace. Of course, if that person was a girl, then the situation would be a little bit different, especially his hot daughter Ayame. He then walked up to the stand and sat down on one of the seats and caught the attention of the cook, who looked surprised to see the blonde teen in his stand. "Ah, Naruto, welcome back from your mission, though I thought that you would have been gone a little longer due to the ranking," Tsuki said as he wiped the counter clean before getting ready to take the boy's order, which was usually a long one considering his appetite and rumored bottomless stomach. "No, I just finished up not too long ago, but my team decided that they wanted to rest up for a few more days so that they could replenish their lost energy. It was tough as hell fighting the way I did back there, and hopefully not for a while," Naruto said with Tsuki nodding his head before he spoke up. "Well, don't worry, as long as you're safe it's all that matters," he said before going to make Naruto's order, but as he was walking past the teen, a small folded piece of paper came out of his hands and landed into Naruto's. The teen instantly knew what this was and opened it up to see a seal placed in the center of the paper, which caused him to cut his thumb slightly on the sharp edges and run the blood along the seal. A small puff of smoke then appeared from the seal and out came another piece of paper, but this time it held 3 more seals on the bottom with a note on top. "Sorry for not getting this info to you earlier, but apparently Sarutobi is upping his security after hearing about the invasion plan from Orochimaru by Jiraiya and the fact that you have several spies hidden here." Saunosuke said that Orochimaru has met up with a few other villages such as Aim, Kusa, and Kiri, but all 3 turned him down, which is probably the main reason he went to Suna. Also, Aina said that there is still no word on finding your mother, but she said that she found some more articles about the originals and where your old friend could be. Lastly, I got a letter from your teammates who said that they are currently in Wave Country and will be waiting there for you. They stated that an old man is on his way here to hire some shinobi for a C rank mission, but its actual ranking is A rank. The scroll that I sealed within the paper holds all the info that you need regarding these things I said, but I would recommend that you look at the scroll on Wave. There's important letters that they filed in there. Naruto then quickly swiped his now bloody thumb along the seal, which caused the scroll to appear as the first bowl was set before him. Naruto then looked up to Tsuki with a smirk as he thanked the man for the ramen, though the ramen cooker knew that it was really a thank you for the information. Not many people knew this, but not only was Tsuki a former Junin from Kusagaku, he was also a member of an elite spy unit that was stationed all throughout the elemental nations known simply as Lotus. Lotus was a society of men that were formed many years ago during the founding ages that worked for the daimyos and kings to monitor enemy movements and any form of plans to usurp the leader of his command. The unit was a well-oiled machine that never failed at getting the job done and always did it with amazing accuracy. As far as most people knew, they disbanded after the First Great War and the name was never heard of again, but most people always fail to see beyond the facade. Naruto first learned of them on his travels through the Land of Hearts when he visited a local ramen shop after getting a contact by one of his other spies in the shinobi world. Upon meeting the man there, and playing a strange game that went by the name of Pai Sho, he was soon told of the order and how they continued their line of work over the years, even going as far as to state that some of them have worked with the previous generation of the 4 horsemen before his master. He learned that the society were just a group of men that decided to see beyond the facade of life and have unity within all areas of the shinobi nations. He learned that there were members in all 5 of the great nations, a majority of the shinobi villages and countries, and even in the neutral Land of Iron, where a majority of the information is found daily. This was something that greatly surprised the blonde boy, as to think that such a well-intricate society of men could gather pounds upon pounds of information by just simply cooking noodles. But when asked why he was given this information, the man stated that it was because of his deceased master, who was once a member of the order. From then on, Naruto came into contact with any and all members of the order, and soon he had his own spy network that was far more precise and cunning than any other in the nations. It was also thanks to that man that he came into contact with Tsuki, who he would soon learn was an old friend of his father and was also giving him info as well. Naruto would never know how the man could live here for 25 plus years and nobody would ever suspect him of working in a spy unit. But as the saying goes, the best place to hide things is out in the open. The blonde then ate his ramen and after 20 bowls he paid the tab with a large stack of bills that made the old man's eyes turn into dollar signs. Naruto soon walked down the streets with his hands in his pockets. He needed to be out here at the moment as multiple thoughts running through his mind with most of them being on his daughter and his mother. "You alright, Kit?" Kyuubi said as he appeared in an astral projection form, something that only Naruto can see, though if he were to release more chakra then that can cause the form to solidify and have people see the fox. "Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. I just can't believe that I'm going to see them again very soon," he said as he continued his walk with the fox beginning to turn his head. "You do know that someone is following you, right?" the fox said, already knowing the person by their scent. "Of course, I already knew the moment I sat down in the ramen stand," Naruto responded to his fox companion. After all, he was still a hot topic here amongst the shinobi syndicate. Every day he would feel the presence of someone watching him closely, monitoring his every move and examining his actions carefully. If the blonde had to say anything on it though, he would say that they were coming from the same guy, and today he was going to make sure that it all stops. "I take it that you're prepared to meet him?" Kyuubi asked, seeing his vessel's slight smirk on his face as he reached slowly into his kunai pouch. "Of course I am. After all, this guy wants to have a meeting with me," he responded to the fox before he pulled out a kunai and chucked it towards the spot he sensed the watchers were. As soon as he released the weapon, a lone figure appeared in front of him, though he already knew who he was by the serious expression in his eye. "Naruto, we need to talk," said the voice of Kakashi, who was currently holding onto the kunai knife that almost hit him with a serious tone in his voice. This told Naruto only one thing, that this man was in no mood for fun and games. "About what exactly, Cyclops? As you can see, I got a lot on my mind and I have someplace to be, so hurry up," Naruto said, causing Kakashi's single exposed eye to become slightly narrowed at the disrespectful tone the blonde was speaking in. "Firstly, remember who you are talking to. Secondly, I wanted to inform you that the Hokage wants to see you," Kakashi said with Naruto nodding his head. "Very well then, but I have a feeling that this isn't the only thing that you have on your mind, isn't it?" Naruto said with Kakashi sighing before he spoke. "I want you to start training both Sasuke and Sakura in the things that they need help in," Kakashi said. "No," Naruto said as he prepared to walk away but was soon stopped when Kakashi appeared before him. "I don't think you heard me clearly. I said that I want you to start training Sasuke and Sakura," the masked man said with Naruto narrowing his eyes at the masked man. "And I said no. Why the hell should I train people that I would rather kill?" Naruto asked with Kakashi quickly answering without missing a beat. "Because you have been extremely neglectful in helping their progress, whereas you are completely open to helping the others in theirs. It's time you start acting like a member of this team and start helping your own teammates for once. Let the other senseis do their jobs for a while," Kakashi said with Naruto starting to chuckle lightly to himself before he spoke. "Hitaki, let me tell you something that I told you before. Only those that earn my respect may learn beyond my name. I don't make exception to that for anybody that I meet. That is the only thing I require, yet it is something that you three have yet to even attempt, much less earn," Naruto said as he quickly snatched his kunai out of Kakashi's hand and balanced it on his right index finger. "You three are each of the things that I absolutely refuse to be associated with: weak, useless and irritating. The Uchiha is weak, the Haruno is useless, and you, Hitaki, are irritating. In other words, there is nothing I want to do with you and I have no desire to find one," Naruto said with Kakashi beginning to feel his anger starting to slip from his control. "Regardless of your personal views on us, you're still my student and a member of this team, and you're going to start acting like you are," the masked man said, having just about reached his boiling point with the blonde's apathetic and nonchalant attitude towards his own teammates, but quickly placed his feeling under check. And what are you going to do about? You three already outlived your usefulness to me, so why should I give a shit about you or your little orders, sensei? Naruto asked with Kakashi's frustrations with the teen beginning to become loose. His single eye flashed the appearance of a pissed-off man before it vanished but still held the same type of serious-laced anger. Because you are the student in this squad that I am the leader of, regardless of how you feel about it, I call the shots. I don't give a damn who you think you are or what you accomplished outside these walls, you are my subordinate and you will start acting like it. Kakashi said as he looked Naruto straight in the eye. Do I make myself clear, boy? He said in a tone that was clearly stated that there was no one for argument. Crystal clear, bitch, Naruto said as he shoved the masked man out of his way and walked away. That however was squashed when Naruto felt grip of the masked man on his shoulder, causing him to turn his head to see the intense anger of former Anbu captain. Who the hell do you think you are? You think that you're my superior just because the Hokage likes you and you got some skills that no one else knows along with great power sealed in you? Or is it that you're scared that I could be stronger than you or that Sasuke or Sakura could actually beat you in a fight? Kakashi asked, through with trying to talk to the teenager. Naruto then glared at the masked man with his eyes turning into the reds of Kyuubi with the red chakra appearing around his body, causing Kakashi to pull his hand back when he felt the foul chakra burn his hand. Naruto then turned to the masked man with his expression now taking on a serious persona. I know you did not just say that, right? Naruto said before looking Kakashi dead in the eye, who glared back with high intensity. You think that little and his bitch can beat me in a fight or that you could very well be my better? Naruto said with Kakashi now getting in his face. That's exactly what I said, and if you don't like it then to ing bad. I am still one of the most feared shinobi in this village, I didn't get my name for nothing. Kakashi said, ignoring the feeling backquote of attacking the boy. Are you seriously trying to act like you're my superior? You think that just because you got some title of being one of the youngest Junin and Anbu captains to ever step foot in this village, or the fact that you got your nickname because of some bullshit eye from a dead teammate hiding behind that headband is supposed to intimidate me? I got news for you, Hatake. My title is a little more intimidating than yours. Naruto said with Kakashi scowling again and decided to ignore the pain. The pain at this point, he needed to say this. You want some news? Then fine, here's a newsflash for you, you're not the top dog around here, I am. I will gladly prove it to you by mopping the floor with you and show you why I'm one of the most feared shinobi to ever walk these streets. Kakashi said, glaring deep into the eyes of the blonde-haired shinobi, who now held an emotionless mask on his face. Is that a challenge I'm hearing you ask for? Naruto asked with an emotionless tone that would freeze even the flames of hell. However, Kakashi still stood his ground and for the first time in many years, felt a fire light up within him that hasn't felt since that day. The day his father would take his own life and leave him in this world alone. Yes, it is, he said with Naruto looking him dead in the eye for a few more moments before scoffing as Kyuubi's chakra left him, turning his eyes back into their original deep blue. He turned his back on the masked man before reaching into his pouch and pulled out a small vial of liquid with medical tape. He then tossed them to the masked man, who caught them with his good hand before listening intently to Naruto's words as he spoke in a calmer tone. Soak your hand in the liquid before wrapping it in those bandages. The liquid is designed to burn off the foreign chakra from your system and then heal the wounds it left behind. It will take a full week for your hand to be restored to its original level, but I'm sure that for you it would only take 3 days. As soon as your hand heals up, come find me to settle this, bring all that you got. Naruto said before he left in a whirl of feathers, while Kakashi remained in that same spot rubbing his hand to nurse and soothe the pain dealt by the burn. But needless to say, Kakashi never felt more serious about anything in his life and knew that taking on the blonde would be no easy task. However, the last thing that he wanted was an easy challenge because, like it or not, he knew that this boy was a powerhouse of his own right. But he too was a powerhouse, and he was going to show the blonde boy just that. After, He was still the son of the White Fang and one of the youngest Anbu captains to step foot in this village, and it was time that he properly proved it. Elsewhere. Barbecue restaurant. The rookie 12-Team 7 could currently be found together eating in Choji's favorite restaurant, which was a place that allowed you to cook your own meat and veggies on a special grill in front of you. Each genin ordered their own meat including Ino, who surprised everyone by that due to her addiction to constant dieting to keep her great figure. When she noticed the looks given to her by her fellow genin, the blonde simply stated that Naruto made her promise to stop focusing on her looks and more so on her skills, because the moment she goes back then that would be the end of their relationship. Needless to say, the decision on her part was anything but a hard one, because she knew that nothing would come in between her chances of not only getting stronger but getting the blonde teen as well. It was with that revelation that both Hinata and Tenten knew that the blonde girl made the correct choice, because they knew for damn sure that they wouldn't be where they are today if it wasn't for the blonde teen that had unknowingly stolen their hearts. I can't believe how much things have changed for all of us when Naruto got involved with all of us. Kiba said as he took a piece of his meat on the grill and feed his puppy in his coat. You got that right. He changed my whole lifestyle from the very beginning. He's quite the controller if you think about it. Ino said as she pulled up one of her piece and blew at it before consuming the meat. Of course he's a controller. The guy nearly killed me, Lee and Neji, when he started helping us. Tenten said with Lee and Neji shuddering at the thought of what he did to them when their training began, but it sure as hell paid off for them. Did he help you guys develop new techniques? He insisted that we make something that has nothing to do with our main fighting style. Neji said with Team 10 nodding their head while Choji ate 2 pieces of meat in one take but decided to not go for another one that moment, a little of the self-control that Naruto instilled in him showing itself in wonders. I had to literally force my mind to make all kinds of moves to use that resided outside of my family's style. It was quite a troublesome experience. Shikamaru said with the others shaking their heads. At least you had time. Naruto made us do it in 1 week, but luckily he was happy with what we were able to make. He even made our senseis create new moves as well. Kiba said with Team 10 looking surprised by that. Really? He made our sensei do the same thing? Choji said with the others looking amazed at that. Hinata began to inwardly ponder on something before actually voicing her opinion. It's funny how just 1 year can change a person after meeting just one guy. Hinata said with everyone else nodding, already noticing her more confident attitude that they figured was something else Naruto had a hand in. After that notion, each genin began to talk about their progression in their shinobi careers while talking about the missions that they have taken over the year they've been in operation, 2 years counting Team Guy. However, as they were talking and spending time together, each one had a thought go through their mind about the blonde-haired teen that was still a mystery to them, regardless of the time spent. After finishing their meal and jointly paying the tab, they then walked their separate ways to get a full night's rest, glad that they took the time out of their schedule just to spend an afternoon. But next time they would get Naruto to come along, and maybe get him to pay. Later on in the night, Uchiha Clan District. Uchiha Sasuke was currently training hard throughout the night, working tireless hours to improve his skills to the level that he needed to be on. Naruto's level. The black-haired teen has been on a non-stop training session after Kakashi arrived to their team meeting with some news that his team would have the week off due to an injury that he sustained earlier that day. When asked how he got the wound, the masked man simply muttered something under his breath right before he vanished in a puff of smoke, ceasing any chances of them asking more questions. However, Sasuke knew what Kakashi said under his breath, and that was the one guy that held a disdain presence in his mind. Naruto. Sasuke couldn't believe that that bastard could do something like that to his sensei, while he himself could fight his sensei in a spar and not lay so much as one finger on the masked man. Unbelievable. He just didn't get it. He was an Uchiha warrior elite, a member of the most powerful clan in the entire village, and top graduate of his class with not a single worthy opponent to face him, yet this unknown blonde bastard comes into the village and with just one fell swoop, took over as the true top dog. And to make matters worse, he knew absolutely nothing of how the blonde gained his power or how this guy could progress so far in his skills while he was still at the bottom learning the goddamn basics. It was a disgrace to the Uchiha name that he had to correct, or else he would never be able to kill his brother. As such, he was now training in his clan home's training area, where he decided to shove himself into his clan's library to study every ounce of knowledge and techniques that there was to study. Then once he was done with that, he would work endless hours to gain the skills that he knew he needed to gain. He was also determined to make this week truly count for him, and he knew that the only way for that to happen is by gaining the ultimate prize of his clan, the Sharingan. He knew that once he gained that precious prize that had eluded him for so many years, not only would he regain his place as top dog, but he would able to claim the blonde's power as his own. Just you wait, Dobby. I'll have the spot that is so rightfully mine's with your power as well. Sasuke thought as he went back to his training. Namikaze clan compound. Naruto currently stood in his backyard working hard on training with his new sword. Benahansho, getting used to the feel of his new blade given to him by his fallen brother under his master. The blonde had to say that this sword was indeed finely crafted by the man, and could tell that he worked endless hours into getting it to function just right, lest it would turn into a fail project. He currently stood before a group of clones that estimated at 20 evenly, with each one holding a copy of the blade. Behind him sat his godfather Jiraiya, who decided to pay him a visit after returning from a meeting with another one of his contacts through his own spy network, which led the white-haired man once more being dumbfounded. This kid's network managed to find the one person that his network have yet to even get a trace from for over 10 years, which led the white-haired man to once more acknowledging that a kid no older than 15 has a spy network that exceeds one that has lasted through one of the Great Wars, the war triple battle between Konoha, Iwa, and Kumo, the Kusa conflict, East Suna during their war with Iwa, and the 100-day battle between themselves and Kiri. To that Naruto only answered that it was simply due to the way information is now moved and how his has managed to gain two means of attaining said information, which once more caused Jiraiya to become even more curious about his godson. He then watched as the boy took out the last of his clones, thus causing him to clear his throat, which caught the boy's attention. Okay Naruto, I think it's time for you to learn a technique that I'm sure you probably already know. He said as he bit his thumb and went through several seals before slamming his hand on the ground to call out, summoning jutsu. As soon as he made that call, a puff of smoke appeared around the white-haired Sannin before it cleared to reveal him sitting on top of a large orange and black toad. He then saw it unravel its tongue to reveal the contract to summon them. Needless to say, this caused Naruto's eyebrow to quirk at that before a smirk came to his face. Let me guess, it's time I became a little more like my old man. Naruto said with Jiraiya nodding. You betcha Gaki, I am after all one of the many reasons why your father became famous. Jiraiya said with Naruto scoffing at that. I doubt that, anyway I already have a summoning contract so I know the procedure. Naruto said as he signed the contract before watching it vanish in a puff of smoke. Really? To what clan? Jiraiya said with Naruto biting his thumb and formed several seals. Over my travels and training under my previous master, I obtained a contract with a very special clan of summonings called the Kontori, Soul Birds. This clan is a rare breed of bird that are descendants of the Phoenix clan and the Raven clan, but none have ever been found worthy to summon them. I like to call them the Starlight Birds, because not only are they very beautiful when you look at them, but you'll think of starlight instantly. Naruto said as he slammed his palm onto the ground and called out, summoning jutsu, bringing forth the familiar white smoke again to the area. Jiraiya then watched as the smoke cleared to reveal a bird that did indeed remind him very much of Starlight. The bird was a beauty to look at indeed, with full moonlight silver feather, illuminating some of the darkness around them. It had large black talons on its feet and a long black beak on its face with a set of purple eyes that could pierce through any form of darkness. All in all, Naruto summoned an amazing and unique-looking bird. The bird soon turned its looks towards Naruto before it flapped its wings and landed on the teen's shoulders. It's good to see you again, Naruto-kun. Father has been quite curious as to why you haven't summoned any of us in a while. The bird said with Naruto shrugging his shoulders. Sorry about that, I haven't been in a situation that requires my summoning of you guys. Naruto said with the bird scoffing before placing its head onto Naruto's cheek. Then at least bring me out, I like to see you more often. The bird said with Jiraiya looking confused. Naruto, what's going on here? Jiraiya asked with Naruto petting the bird's head. This is Tetsu, she's my liaison among her clan and is my personal summon. Naruto said with Jiraiya nodding since that was one of the main agreements between all summons and summoners. You were supposed to summon me back here years ago since I'm supposed to stay with you at all times. Father wants an answer from you about that very soon when I come back here. Tetsu said with Naruto sighing. Okay then, let him know that I'll summon him when things get smoother, things are still shaky around here at the moment. Naruto said with Tetsu scoffing. You better or else I'm coming after you with my sword. She said before vanishing in a puff of smoke. After seeing the bird summon leave, Jiraiya let out a loud whistle of fascination at that, never expecting his godson to be in quite the situation he's in. Well then, that was quite a surprise. He said with Naruto smirking. Imagine mine when I signed the contract in the first place. It's actually because of them that I have my angel wing bloodline. Naruto said removing his shirt to reveal his angel wing tattoo on his back. So that is how you got your wings, huh? I always wondered where you got them since neither Minato nor Kushina held a bloodline that gave them angel wings. Jiraiya said with Naruto scoffing. I don't know why you're surprised, after all every summon clan gives gifts to their summoners to prove of their connection. Your sage mode technique is the one of the true examples behind all that. Naruto said with Jiraiya smirking once more. Naruto then bit his finger and went through the seals in rapid succession before slamming his palm to the ground calling out, summoning jutsu. Jiraiya watched as the smoke appeared again before watching the smoke dissipate and soon Jiraiya was looking on in surprised. Naruto's first attempt at summoning a toad resulted in him summoning not one but two toads at the same time. One was a small orange and purple while the other was a small yellow and orange toad. Both then looked towards Naruto, who raised an eyebrow at that but said nothing. Yo, I take it you're the new guy, right? Well, my name is Gamakichi and next to me is my brother Gamatatsu. To summon us you must give us both candy. He said with Naruto shrugging his shoulder before tossing them both two urs. After thanking the teen, they both vanished in a puff of smoke. Well, that was interesting, Gaki, try it again. Jiraiya said with Naruto nodding before going through the seals again before slamming his hand on the ground, thus causing a huge puff of smoke that quickly cleared to reveal a huge toad standing before them. The toad was huge, he stood about 100 meters high. He wore a blue jacket and had a pipe in his mouth as well as a dagger on his side and a scar over his left eye. Jiraiya's mouth was left agape at the sight of this, as the boy managed to pull the boss of the summons into their plane after just 2 tries. It was then that a deep smirk appeared on his face when he remembered Minato first summoning Gamabunta and all the hell it brought to the village. Oh yeah, Minato, this is most certainly your kid. Elsewhere. Unknown land. A lone figure walked through a dark forest in an unknown location, a black cloak draping over his entire body with a black hood over his head that hid his face well underneath its shadow. The man stood tall at 6 feet 4 with a long gold staff with what appeared to be a skull on top of it with a sharp blade attached to the side, indicating that it was a scythe. Think of Death's scythe used in Dante's Inferno. The figure was on a mission and he intended on succeeding without any distractions or hindrances getting involved. He continued on walking until 3 figures appeared before him, each one wearing a cloak as well, though each wore a different color that was midnight black, navy blue, and gunmetal gray. He could see that the shortest of them wore the black cloak with the tallest wearing the gray and the one in between wore the blue, though he knew that just by looking at them that they were very powerful, but he knew that he was stronger. What brings you by this place? Don't you know that it's dangerous to be out here by yourself, especially with him here? The shortest of the three said, indicating that he was the leader. Believe it or not, I'm here looking for someone. The lone figure said, who is it that you are searching for? The short one asked again with the other figure's hand appearing instantly. However, before he could say a word, the three figures appeared before him with three huge swords pointed at him, threatening that if he makes just one slip-up that he would die right there. But that didn't mean that he was fearful of them, as his hand appeared out of his sleeve with an object in hand before bringing it to show to the man in front of him. I'm looking for this person, have you seen him? He asked with the figure before him wearing the black cloak taking the object and saw that it was a photo that was ripped from a bingo book. He observed the photo for a moment, but before he could answer a blade went through his stomach, causing him to cough up blood. The figure then looked up and to his shock he saw the bodies of his partners lying on the ground in dead heaps, their cloaks looking as if a huge blade sliced through them. As he looked on in shock, a voice quickly spoke behind him, thus causing him to listen intently. I already know that you're friends of his, and don't worry, he's an old friend of mine as well. Just tell him that death is coming to see him soon. Got that? He said before bringing his scythe upwards and slicing through his captured enemy right before looking to his left, seeing the same three figures that once surrounded him stood to his left. You must be a friend of his then, because no one else but him could detect that genjutsu with an ease that you just showed. He said as he looked towards his two partners, who nodded in unison to the short man's acknowledgement. Of course I would be able to detect it like that. After all, I was the one that helped him create that genjutsu he taught you. The man said as he placed his scythe on his back, just be sure to relay that message to him. I still need to get some training done after leaving Amatsu no 10. He said with the three figures nodding their heads. Very well then, we will relay the message to him since you have proven to be an ally. Farewell, he said before he and the two others vanished in the blink of an eye, causing the mysterious person to laugh hard at that before he began to walk forward. You gathered quite the set of allies, so you better be stronger for our reunion, little brother. The figure said to himself right before a strong wind picked up around him like a twister, slowly causing his body to slowly be blown away like dust within the wind. What's up, jackasses? I'm back with an update after a little break. First and foremost, thanks to all that reviewed the last chapter, though hopefully this one will get more. The reason why this chapter took so long to produce is because I lost the flash drive that I used for all my stories, thus making me have to rewrite everything that I had planned, thus making me shorten the production of this chapter. It's not long, but hopefully it will be enough to get you guys satisfied for a while. Also, I would like to take this time and address something for a moment. What a hell of a year, right? We've seen the deaths of dictators, Kim Kardashian once again proving that she's a no-talent having bitch whose only good quality is the fact that she's smoking hot and like to get a black meat stick between her legs, the Miami Heat choking in the NBA Finals, the Green Bay Packers going undefeated all year, that counts the postseason and Super Bowl earlier this year, the return of Power Rangers, and so much more. We've experienced tragic losses all year round to see great blessings all year round. We've seen a Ing hurricane and an earthquake hit the East Coast, which is logically insane. We've seen genius when a scientist proved the existence of another Earth yet once more fail at disproving the existence God. With the extreme stupid of a lady getting her filled with concrete, I kid you not on that one. We've also had to sadly experience the horrors of Rebecca Black to the rays of several other singers to whom I can't name because I could give two shits less about. We've seen a religious whackjob try to predict the rapture and the death of an icon in the Christian community, RIP. Zachary Timms. This year has seen many ups in genius and stupidity, so it only makes me question about 2012. Well, we already know that stupidity has laced that year with the prediction of the apocalypse, and well, I can only answer that with this: bring da mother ing ruckus. The sun shined brightly over Kanahagakure as each villager welcomed the new day with bright smiles and expectancy of something great to happen. One person in particular was expecting something great as he sat over the head of the Yondaime Hokage with a bottle of water in his hand and a blank stare on his face as he scanned over the village. It's been a while since he done this, seeing as how he had multiple missions out of the village and had to deal with training with his new sensei. He didn't know why he loved doing this, but he guessed that it had to do with the fact that he could spend a little time with his father in a way. He would always come here in the early morning and watch the sunrise, and sometimes he would talk to the rock that held his father's face, almost as if he was talking to his own father face to face. 3 weeks passed since the day he began his training with Jiraiya, and not much has changed since then. His team was still angry at him though for personal reasons over Universal, Sasuke because he was stronger than him, Sakura because she was forced to do D ranks during his absence, and Kakashi because of injury his hand once sustained a week ago from their encounter. However, that didn't matter to him one bit, as his only concern at the moment was learning as much as he could from his only family thus far.